Alrighty, welcome everybody to the 173rd edition of the MMA Circus here on BloodyElbow.com and live on YouTube. My name is Nick Baldwin. I am your host as always. Joining me as our guest co-host this week, it is Justyn Likes of CombatPress.com. Justyn, how are you?
What's up, man? It's going good. It's good to be back. It's been a while since I joined you on here.
Yeah, I think the last time maybe was on this little startup show I did, Beyond Combat, that is no more. But I think last time we did do a podcast was talking about being a teacher. So it has been a while when it comes to MMA.
Yeah.
How has everything been going? Because I know we did talk about being a teacher, and at the time you didn't have a job and you were looking, and I know it's been up and down, but you have found a job. You are going to be a full-time teacher as of next week. Things are going good, I assume?
Yeah, it's great. Got a special ed position at the high school that I graduated from 11 years ago. So there's familiarity with the area. So that's stress off my shoulders and stuff. So that it's nice to be back, inside the classroom.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's good to see you. As I said off air, like sort of in a better spot, and because you deserve it. I mean, I've never met you, and you've never taught me, so I can't say on firsthand experience you're a great teacher, but I would assume that's the case. And to see you finally get a role, and it's great, and I wish you the best. I guess next week things are going to get crazy, but I know you know that.
Yeah.
Let's dive right in. We have had quite the week in MMA. We have a card coming up tomorrow night, and we're coming off a fantastic UFC Calgary event. Let's talk about that before anything. We had Dustin Poirier, Eddie Alvarez 2 in the main event, 5 rounds if needed. All those extra rounds were, of course, not needed. Dustin Diamond Poirier gets it done in the second round. A pretty good performance. I mean, yes, Alvarez tagged him here and there, but it was mostly Poirier doing the damage up until the stoppage. Now, I know there was a bit of controversy. Alvarez lands the illegal 12-6 elbow. Was it illegal? Was it not? Was it on the shoulder? Was it on the head? We can debate that a little bit, but just as far as Poirier's performance, were you impressed yourself?
No, I was expecting. I thought Alvarez was going to win that. I didn't see the controversy around the first fight because I thought Alvarez was going to finish that. I didn't think he needed that illegal strike. I thought he was going to beat Poirier the first time, but Poirier proved me wrong the second fight. I mean, he beat him fair and square. When he rocked Alvarez, that was when I kind of was like, all right, now it's going to get going. Now Alvarez will start swinging, maybe catch Poirier. But Poirier was very calculating. He didn't rush anything. He picked his shots when Alvarez was rocked, and he's doing great. He's close to that title shot.
Yeah, I mean, again, a really good performance. I think Dustin Poirier just looked a little sharper in this second fight. And, I mean, he was doing good in that first fight, and we all remember what happened, the legal knees from Alvarez, and Poirier, of course, was unable to continue. But I think Poirier's been on a roll since that first fight. Alvarez has won as well, but Poirier wins over Pettis and Gaethje. Alvarez just a Gaethje win himself, and I think Poirier has really started to come into his own, and so beating Eddie Alvarez, putting this rivalry of sorts to rest, ending it on a high note, I think was very important for his career. Obviously, we know that he's now fighting Nate Diaz, so we can segue into that a little bit later on, but because that's a great fight and there's a lot to talk about, especially on the Diaz side of it. But I mean, I guess to the point of Poirier, it really was fun, and I guess the only thing coming out of UFC Calgary and that main event was I still would like to see Poirier Alvarez go 5 rounds. I know it probably won't happen because A, they'll never fight again, and B, what happened on Saturday probably will just happen more often than not. But just imagine if Poirier and Alvarez were able to not hurt each other enough to go 5 rounds. Like, that would be one of the best fights ever.
Yeah. They're never going to go 5. I don't think it's the rivalry is dead. I still think there's a possibility for a third fight. Not anytime soon. I mean, Alvarez will need to get a win, and we'll see how things go. But I still think there could be a trilogy there. But a 5-round fight between them, no, there's no way they can go 5 rounds.
No. I think, I know. I mean, if you're a betting man, I think Poirier Alvarez doesn't go the distance at even minus 300 or 400. That's like throw a little bit of money on that because there's no way they're going the distance. But I'm curious, were you more impressed with Poirier in this fight? I mean, I guess it's tough to say in the first fight because there was a no contest and we can't say Poirier won, but it definitely looked like that first fight was going in Poirier's direction. Do you think Poirier looked substantially better in the rematch than he did the first fight?
I think he's looked better since the fight. And yeah, he looked better because he avoided the shots. I think one of the things he knew he needed to do is when that firefight was going to happen, when he had Alvarez rocked, to be more, like I said, calculating, pick the shots and to avoid, because when you have him hurt, Alvarez is going to start swinging. So I think his composure has actually gotten better the last couple fights. He's not getting in these wild brawls. He's picking his spots. And I think that's what he did better this fight than he did the first one.
Were you surprised at all with how it played out? The rematch I'm talking about, of course, fun fight early on, but Poirier just the better shots, more, the harder shots definitely did more damage, and Alvarez couldn't take it. Is that sort of how you saw this one playing out?
I thought it was going to be to where once he gets Alvarez rocked a bit, against the cage, then Alvarez would start swinging, and I thought Alvarez would clip Poirier and hurt him and finish him. But that's not what happened. And I think that's because Poirier was just so smart when he did have Alvarez backed up, not rushing things. You could see how he was picking his shots. I mean, when they landed flush. So I was expecting Alvarez to, of course, get rocked, but for him to start swinging back and finish Poirier by doing that. But Poirier was smart. He didn't get into a bullfight with him.
Yeah. All right, UFC Calgary co-main event. The former featherweight champion Jose Aldo returns to the winning column for the first time in a little while, 2 years ish, almost 2 years. I think just a little over. He defeats Jeremy Stephens via first-round TKO. His first finish, I believe, since 2009. It's been nearly a decade since Aldo finished a fight without needing the judges. I thought this was a terrific performance. Now, I was picking Jose Aldo going in, but Jeremy Stephens, is a guy that typically doesn't get knocked out. He has a super durable chin. He's just a really tough guy, and it's a guy tough to put away. But Jose Aldo, and the reason I thought Aldo would win, I just thought technically he was a bit more sound, and I looked at the Max Holloway losses, and let's be honest, sure, he did take a lot of damage, and maybe the whole concern with Jose Aldo going forward is this the same Jose Aldo? But we have to remember that Max Holloway is a really good fighter. He's the champ for a reason. He's probably the best featherweight.
And they weren't bad performances against Holloway. It just, when it finally hit what was like the third round, it just was too much. But he didn't look bad by any means, in those fights.
Yeah, Aldo did have some success. I don't know if I would. I mean, I don't think he looked great. I think getting knocked out twice in a row in the third round to Holloway, I mean, it's hard to look good in those defeats. But yeah, he did have some success early on, and clearly he was just outmatched by Max Holloway, but everybody is. So it's really it was kind of hard to know what to put into those losses. Clearly, they didn't affect him in going forward. He knocks out Jeremy Stephens. Were you surprised? Were you surprised like I was, just because Stephens is so durable? He rarely gets finished, and for a guy who hasn't scored a finish in 9 years to finish a guy that never gets finished kind of doesn't make sense.
I think there are two things that surprised me. One is how many people were already saying Aldo was finished. Like you said, you lose 2 times to the best featherweight out there, you're not done. And second, it didn't surprise me, because a liver shot, it doesn't matter how tough you are, how durable you are. You get hit there, your body shuts down. It doesn't matter how tough you are. You get hit with a flush liver shot, you're going down. So, if that's what I guess didn't surprise me, is because those liver shots are, you can't defend against those. If you get a flush liver shot, your whole body just like paralyzes and you're done.
Yeah. Is Jose Aldo back? I think that's what everyone is wondering after this. And a lot of people are saying, yes, he is. I mean, he is as good as he was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whenever. Is Jose Aldo, is he back? Can he contend for the title still? And I mean, I think he made it clear he's still one of the best featherweights, but with having 2 losses to Holloway, it'll be tough. But Aldo has to be right up there, is he not?
Yeah, I don't think he never left. He just, Holloway is the new young better fighter. I think Aldo is still probably the second best fighter at 145, but I don't think he never left. I don't want to say he's back. I still think he's the same, same fighter. The only thing I guess that would worry me is, where's his passion at right now. He talks about retirement and being done. He wants to go out on top, I know, but is that passion still there? Is he still willing to put the same hours in the gym? Is he still willing to, to do the stuff to get back on top?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. I know with Max Holloway out for a little while, with the issues he had going into that scheduled Ortega fight earlier or I guess last month now. It'll be interesting. Maybe they do the Chad Mendes trilogy. That seems like a good matchup to me, a good option. Or if they want to go a different road and do a new matchup, I mean, Aldo versus Brian Ortega, it's a sneaky good fight. I
Just
think a lot of people would
no
say,
interim titles, just no interim titles.
yeah.
Let's not do that.
I guess it really comes down to how long Holloway's out. It doesn't sound like he'll be out forever, but I know he does plan on defending in sometime in 2019, early on, I guess in the year, probably first quarter, maybe second quarter. So, yeah, I guess hopefully avoid the interim titles. But as far as the matchup goes, I mean, Aldo Ortega, that'd be a fun fight.
That's a great fight. And I think with the UFC having their cards pretty much kind of set, except for like December, they're pretty stacked. So I don't think they're in a rush to get Holloway back in there. I think it won't be maybe Super Bowl weekend or January pay-per-view. I don't think they're going to rush him back because they have basically the rest of 2018 pretty much sort of mapped out. I mean, with all the events, like they
are missing an MSG headliner, don't forget, but
yeah.
It is tough to say. I mean, I guess there's no point speculating when Holloway will return. We just sort of have to wait and see. One last fight I want to talk about on this Calgary card, and then I know Calgary was a great event. I was there; it was fantastic. But there's a lot of other stuff to get to that's happened really just today at the 25th anniversary press conference in LA that happened. But one last fight: former strawweight champion Joanna Jędrzejczyk, similarly to Aldo, first 3-rounder in a long time, gets back into the winning column after back-to-back upset losses to the current strawweight queen, Rose Namajunas. She, of course, defeated Tecia Torres via 30-27 decision across the board. Now, this was a bit of a slower fight. I didn't catch every single moment of it. I know the third round, I didn't see too much of it. First two, I think, were pretty good. Joanna, I mean, just a better striker here. She was able to control Tecia in the clinch. Joanna did a little bit better, and but it was a bit of a slower fight. Were you happy? Did you enjoy the fight? And were you impressed with Joanna?
I was impressed with her cage work and her takedown defense. I mean, it was pretty clear going in the first round that Ticia's game plan was to get her down. She spent a lot of energy, basically every round, trying to take her down. And for Jędrzejczyk to avoid that was good. It was hard for her to have a great performance because Tecia was pressing her, trying to take her down. I'm sure she wanted to finish. I'm sure she wanted to show off a little more on the feet, but it was just hard because of what Tecia was presenting her.
Yeah, I was impressed with her performance. I just expected there to be a little more output from Joanna, but of course, Tecia, her aggressive style, looking for the takedowns, had sort of forced Joanna into the clinch, and that was sort of the fight it ended up being, which was okay. She still put on a good performance, and she still got back into the winning column, and that's really what was most important about this fight, not about knocking Tecia out in the first round and having the performance of your life. Just get the win, and then you can start, calling your shots again.
That's a huge mental hurdle for her to get back in the win column, because you see fighters that have lost big fights. I mean, you look at Francis Ngannou, the way he came out in his recent fight with Derek Lewis. There's just that mental hurdle you got to worry about with fighters. And I think just for Joanna to go out there and not show any, signs of being rusty or signs of being mentally worried about her performance was really good for her, just to get over that hump.
Yeah, and I guess, as I said, you can compare the fight to the Aldo-Stevens fight, just in the sense that Aldo, Joanna, former champions, very dominant at one point, both coming off back-to-back losses to the current champ. See how they rebound. Are they done? Are they still here? And I guess what made Aldo's performance just that much better is that not only was it a matter of getting back into winning column, but he just looked so great. And so I guess that was the only thing missing from Joanna's performance, but the way she played it, not taking too many risks, I think ended up playing out in her favor. She got the win, and that's really all that mattered. Moving forward for Jędrzejczyk, she of course has been calling for a title shot. She wants that trilogy with Thug Rose Namajunas. Now, unfortunately for her, I just don't think it'll happen this soon, if at all. I mean, Rose has beat Joanna twice in a row now, dating back just to not even a year ago, and so I can't see now. UFC does make some weird fights sometimes. They book a rematch right away, or they don't book a rematch, or they do this and do that. But I just can't see them doing Namajunas Joanna 3. I know the last fight was close. I actually scored her for Joanna, but the judges are who score the fights, and they said Rose won twice, and so is this trilogy at all possible, or is Joanna just being I guess hopeful?
I think your next person to fight Rose will be what is it, the Andrade Carolina fight? Aren't they fighting? I think that's going to determine
Andrade and Carolina.
Yeah, that's going to determine your number one contender. As for that, I mean, who else right now in 115 has the UFC really been promoting or kind of setting up for that title shot? So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to say Joanna gets a shot sometime next year. I mean, there's some good fighters, but who have they really kind of pushed or have been saying, hey, you're close to a title shot? So, I mean, and Joanna she seems to be a decent draw. She's not going to sell a ton of pay-per-views, but you put her in a market like they've done in New York and she sells. But I think a fight could happen next year, but she's not going to get it immediately.
Well, the problem is that Joanna, I mean, I don't see her staying at 115 for all that much longer. I mean, she was planning to move up to 125 after the Namajunas rematch. It didn't go her way, and then the UFC ended up asking her to fight Torres, and she didn't say no. Or she said yes. She was all right, whatever, might as well take it. Her plans changed, but she was planning on a move up, and I know that was also the plan had she beat Rose the first time before she got knocked out, and then the very confident person in her said, I need to get that belt back, and she didn't. But the thing is, my point is, she's going to be moving up eventually. I think Joanna will retire as a flyweight, and so how long does she stick around? I mean, is she going to wait for the winner of Andrade Carolina to fight Rose, who is out right now, and we don't really know when she'll fight again, hopefully sooner than later, but you never know. Nothing's booked. We haven't heard much from Namajunas since her last fight. And I know Joanna has been saying she's injured. I actually hadn't heard that, but she could be right. So I don't know. I mean, Joanna being the person she is, wanting to get what she's calling for, the title shot she wants. I mean, is she going to be willing to be sticking around a little bit and waiting around and potentially having another fight? I doubt it. So
it's interesting
if that trilogy will happen.
It's interesting because if she went up to 125 right now, she'd probably get an immediate title shot against the winner of Shevchenko and Montano. I honestly think she goes up to 125, she gets a title shot, but she's not wired that way. She's so obsessed with getting that win back.
No, she really isn't. I think that might hurt her. I think someone really needs to sit down and say, you had the strawweight belt. You defended it 5 or 6 times. You're the greatest strawweight in UFC history and MMA history. You did great things. But if you keep on trying to get this belt back, it'll just hinder your success in other, parts of MMA, particularly the flyweight division. And I mean, ultimately, I think she should be way more focused on, restarting her career, so to speak, at 125 than just getting this belt back, because it doesn't look like she will be able to do so anytime soon.
Yeah, it's just that, that ego we all have, fighters have it even more so. You don't want to go up to a division knowing that you might get that third shot against Rose. She wants to beat her so bad. So I don't think she wants to go up to 125 until she gets like a definite answer from Dana and the UFC saying you're not going to get a third fight, which is, I think, something that, like I said, I think will happen next year.
Yeah. Okay, that is it for UFC Calgary. I know there's a lot of other great fights on the prelim card and even the other main card fight. A lot of great fights on that card, but there's other stuff to talk about. We have had a big lightweight title fight announcement just today. Conor McGregor is back. He is going to be taking on the 155-pound king, Khabib Nurmagomedov, of course, for the title in the main event of UFC 229 in just 9 weeks, October 9th, I believe it is, in Las Vegas. The fight we've all wanted to see for quite a while now is scheduled, it's booked, it's official, it's happening. As far as we know right now, anyways, as of now, it is good to go. What is your sort of immediate reaction to the news? You must be excited. You must be, I guess, what's going through your mind, and talk to me about this fight.
I'm excited. I think at first when the whole incident went down with Conor and the whole throwing the dolly, I was a little irked by it. But as time went by, I'm like, they're not going to not have him fight again or give him a title shot. He's money to them. He makes them so much money. The fans want to see the fight. He's going to be probably, I don't know how many pay-per-views it's going to sell, but it's going to be a heck of a lot more than they've done. So I'm just excited that the fight's happening, and I'm glad it's in October, and that they're getting it done, soon.
I'm wondering about that whole doing it soon. I kind of think if they had done it at MSG in November, just a month later, that gives us another month to get ready. It gives them to promote the fight. I just feel like this might be a little soon. And I can't wait still, and I'm going to watch, and I'll be as excited as I would be by the time fight week is upon us and all that's going on. But I just can't help myself but think, had it been pushed back a little bit longer, it might be that much bigger. Do you disagree?
No, I think the return is going to be big. And the thing I worry about is if you push it back to November, that's just another month where you have to worry about someone getting injured. Because that's always this thing that I'm a pessimist. It's always something that seems like someone's getting injured. So putting it in November is just another month I have to worry about. Will they make it to fight week? The sooner, the better. It's in Vegas. I think it's going to sell well. I think they're going to have still plenty of time to promote it on their future shows. They're going to obviously do tons of TV spots for it. The sooner, the better with this, because they're both healthy right now, and that's important.
Conor McGregor, of course, has been a very difficult man to deal with when it comes to the UFC lately. But typically he has been pretty good. He'll do his little dance. He'll do his negotiating tactics and I want this fight. I don't want this fight. I'll do this fight. I won't do this fight. But then at the end of the day, everything I know about Conor, it seems like once they really do sit down and get serious, he's ready to be serious, and he gets deals done pretty quickly. Dana's had obviously good things to say about him. I'm sure the money he's made the UFC helps a lot, but I guess to that point, are you at all surprised this fight is actually happening? Because I guess there could have been a time for some people that who knows if it'll ever happen. Are you surprised that it's good to go and we're actually going to see this one?
I think I was just kind of surprised it happened so quick. But as far as the matchup, I'm not surprised. Conor, and Khabib have kind of been building up that feud between each other. Conor wants to get his belt back. Now that it's happened in October, I wonder if the UFC kind of regrets stripping him already, just because they could have still had Khabib for an interim belt. But I think Conor wants to come back, get the belt. I think it's the best matchup right now. I think it's exciting for him. It's going to sell pay-per-views no matter what. No matter really, honestly, who the opponent was going to be for Conor, I think it was going to sell well. And the fact that it happens to be the champ and Khabib just makes it that much better.
Just a few minutes ago, as we were recording this, I sent out a tweet saying, what's a bigger fight, Khabib-McGregor or Cormier-Lesnar? Now, all the responses I got were, are you serious? Obviously, is that a serious question? Obviously, it's Khabib-McGregor, not even close. Now, am I missing something here? Now, I probably would say Khabib-Conor. I think that's slightly bigger fight, but Lesnar, the WWE champion as he is now, and obviously a mainstream draw, taking on Daniel Cormier, light heavyweight champion. That's a huge fight. Is Khabib-McGregor just on another level? Yes,
yeah, it is. I think talent-wise, just because it's going to be a competitive matchup, and then just obviously if the injury happens, what's going to happen. I don't know if Lesnar Cormier is going to happen. They want to fight, sure, but Lesnar has to make it 6 months without popping on a drug test, and who knows if he changes his mind. There's so much up in the air with Lesnar Cormier until it's actually announced. It's hard to get excited about it because I just don't know if it's going to happen.
I suppose there is some truth to that. One is official, one is not. But say DC Lesnar is happening. It's scheduled right now for next February. The excitement level is definitely more geared towards Conor Khabib. I'm way more excited to see Conor versus Khabib because I don't know what's going to happen. That's a lot of, way more competitive than DC Lesnar, at least on paper, for, in most people's eyes. But as far as the actual pay-per-view buys, as far as how big it is to the mainstream audience, to the casual audience, to the to the non-MMA fan audience, something just says that DC Lesnar, maybe not quite as big, but like, does the casual audience really know who Khabib is? I don't know. Maybe they do.
They know who Conor is, and they know the whole situation that's been going on with him, and he's gonna sell. I don't know if Lesnar Cormier is gonna sell close to honestly what Khabib Conor is. I don't know. I know Lesnar has that WWE audience, but are they gonna tune in and buy a pay-per-view? Is this the same Lesnar people want to see? I mean, there's just, if it was a couple years ago when when Lesnar was champ, or maybe had just lost his belt, I just don't know if his drawing power is the same as it was. It's going to sell pay-per-views for sure, but I don't think it's going to sell anywhere close to what Conor and Khabib will.
Interesting. I guess it will be interesting to see sort of how much bigger, if DC Lesnar does happen, how much bigger could be Conor's. I mean, it certainly will be a big fight. Will be probably the biggest in UFC history, if not, right up there. But I just don't know. I mean, people obviously know Conor. They haven't forgotten about him, even though the layoff. People will be more intrigued by the return. Just we haven't seen Conor for so long. It'll be almost 2 years since his last MMA fight against Eddie Alvarez. So that is pretty crazy. And then, of course, you can't forget about the Mayweather fight. One other thing from this press conference that was announced, it was actually announced last night, Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz. What do you think about this one?
I think it's a great fight, and I think it's hilarious how Nate Diaz is already like, F you UFC, I'm not fighting on this card, because I guess he stormed out. He was pissed off that they announced the McGregor-Khabib fight at the end of the press conference. That's another thing to where I'll believe it when I see it, because Diaz is such a headache to deal with. I like him as a fighter, but I don't know if it's going to happen in Madison Square Garden unless they've already got everything official and he has to. But I'm going to wait to see how that plays out.
Well, yeah, I think we all will. It's a great fight. Let's put that out of the way very quickly. We don't need to say that. Dustin Poirier and Nate Diaz is a terrific fight. I'm not surprised. I mean, this was sort of the one non-title fight for Dustin Poirier that it's not surprising he took. I mean, Tony Ferguson I could still understand as well, but he said after beating out Eddie Alvarez just last weekend that if it's not a title fight, it better have a lot of damn money attached to it. And I don't think there's any fight in the lightweight division for him that would have more money besides a fight with Conor or Khabib. And that's, of course, Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz has a win over McGregor a few years back. And even though he hasn't been active, he hasn't fought since the McGregor rematch 2 years ago, Nate Diaz is a star. He's a draw. People know who he is.
And I would have loved to see this fight as like the co-main of that October 6th, whatever pay-per-view. But I'm guessing, with Poirier just fighting, he's going to want to take some time off, heal up some nagging injuries. It would have been perfect if it was a co-main, but I think that's why they're holding off until Madison Square Garden, just to let Poirier kind of recover a bit, because he's been fighting, seems like, a bunch already.
No, I mean, Gaethje, he took a lot of shots against Gaethje and his fair share against Alvarez just a few days ago. So, yeah, he needs time to recover, and I don't blame him for not wanting to fight, say, in just a couple months, because that would be insane. But, yeah, if they could have done that, and I guess that's another reason why I think Conor Khabib just fits MSG a little more. That's already a great card, and having Poirier Diaz underneath it would just add to it because, well, it would help them because, say, if McGregor Khabib gets hurt, well, you quickly throw in Diaz against McGregor maybe, or Poirier against Khabib, still a big enough fight. Although I do understand why they wanted to separate all of the great fights already booked for the MSG card, like Branch, Jacare, there's Romero Costa, Weidman Rockhold, Brunson Adesanya, a whole middleweight just fiasco.
And they still need a main event,
they do.
Card.
They do.
So those prelims are going to be pretty darn entertaining because not everyone's going to be able to make it on that main card.
No, absolutely. But what I was saying, I think the reason, or I understand why the UFC is separating all of those fights, including Poirier Diaz and McGregor Khabib, because those 5 fights already booked for MSG, that's making a great pay-per-view. You can throw a dog shit headliner on there, and it's still a great card. And so you could have headlined that with Shevchenko Montano, and I'd still buy the pay-per-view. And I think a lot of people would, even though the two names after UFC 230 aren't so great, aren't so I guess attractive to the audience. But separating those fights already make your great pay-per-view. McGregor, Khabib, you can have terrible fights underneath, and it's still a huge pay-per-view. So we're making two great pay-per-views, two big successes out of just a bunch of fights. And I think if you throw them all in one, then you have this pay-per-view in Vegas that, it might sell 200,000 buys if you throw.
They don't need to be fancy with that October main card.
No,
because McGregor Khabib is going what's going to make or break it. That's going to sell it. And yeah, you can look at, well, what if the fight doesn't happen? You still want a decent main card? No, that pay-per-view won't sell unless it's Conor versus Khabib. Doesn't matter what other 4 fights are on that main card. That's what people are going to watch, and that's what's going to sell it.
No, I totally agree. It'll be interesting. This lead up, I'm excited to see. I wish there was a bit more time just to even just process it myself. I mean, I know that's selfish, but if there was a world tour, all these press conferences, it would just make it feel a little bigger. Of course, I'll be excited by fight week. I'll be pumped, like everybody.
Remember the last time though we had a world tour with McGregor?
I know.
I mean, it was great to watch, and then the fight never happened. So
maybe having a world tour in Russia and Ireland and London and everywhere around the States, maybe that would just jinx it, and we'd have Chad Mendes step up or something. You never know. Okay, let us move on to UFC 227, tomorrow's pay-per-view card in LA, California. We got TJ Dillashaw, the UFC bantamweight champion, defending against teammate turned rival Cody No Love Garbrandt, the former title holder, in a rematch from their UFC 217 previous fight in November of last year, where Garbrandt, the defending champion, lost to Dillashaw via second round knockout. What do you make of this card? Not so great, not super pretty, not nearly as good as that one in MSG or the Khabib-McGregor one, whatever that'll look like, but still some fun fights, a lot of complaints. I think some of them are a little unwarranted. I like the card overall, but definitely not a super strong outing for the UFC.
No, it's not a great pay-per-view. It's hard to say, all right, you're going to pay $64.99, whatever the pay-per-view is now, for this, and paying the same price for another pay-per-view like McGregor Khabib. I like the Garbrandt fight. There's just that animosity there. It's going to be a great fight. I think they're kind of hurt themselves though by booking that rematch so soon, because then if Cody loses, he's in the situation Joanna's in, to where is he going to get a third fight? But I like that fight. Johnson, I think, is going to steamroll Cejudo. I know Cejudo's made those improvements, but Johnson's just a step above everybody. But the rest of that card, there's some fights on the main card that are just like, why is this on a pay-per-view?
Yeah, no, sorry to Polyvana Vienna and JJ Aldrich, but that's not a pay-per-view fight. That fight should never be on a pay-per-view. Thiago Santos, Kevin Holland, that's kind of a fun matchup.
That's usually how they make the first fight of a pay-per-view kind of like that excitement fight. That's kind of what that is. So that kind of makes sense.
I get it.
If you had a bigger headliner or maybe a bigger co-main, that would kind of make sense as the opening fight. But the Aldrich fight, who I like as a fighter, but her and Rihanna as a pay-per-view just doesn't make sense. And I like Cub Swanson, but those fights all together as a pay-per-view is just it's kind of a tough sell to people who are kind of hurting for money, telling them to, hey, spend $60+ to watch this.
No, I agree. Let's go through this card real quick. There's not tons to talk about. We're not going to talk about nearly every fight. We'll talk about the main ones and maybe a couple others. I'm just curious to get your thoughts on get your prediction on the opening fight. As I said, Thiago Santos, Kevin Holland. Santos is a big favorite. I think that's well deserved. I think this is a bit of a mismatch. I don't understand why they're throwing Holland to the Wolves in his first UFC fight. He's coming off the Contender Series. He has a lot of potential, but Murata, this guy's a good fighter. He's a beast. And yes, he's coming off a knockout loss to David Branch, but nonetheless, Santos is legit and he's powerful. He's mean. He's everything. And I kind of feel like they're throwing Kevin Holland to the Wolves in his debut. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think Holland is a exciting like stand-up fighter, but once he starts eating those kicks to the liver, to the body, to the thighs from Santos, he's gonna kind of regret signing that contract agreement. It's a fight that I think Santos is. It's a look good fight for Santos. I think it's not gonna be boring. There's not gonna be tons of grappling. You're gonna get the finish that people are gonna want to see, but it's gonna be Holland. Unfortunately, the guy getting finished.
Yeah, I'm going to go Santos knockout as well. Cub Swanson, Renato Moicano, you mentioned it. Maybe should be on the pay-per-view. Maybe it shouldn't. Swanson obviously hasn't been on much of a roll lately. He's coming off a few losses. Moicano, this guy's been looking good. Who do you like here?
That's tough. Looking at it from a style wise, the matchup. I want to say Cub just because of his experience and everything, but Moicano is a young, hungry fighter whose only loss was to Ortega. That's really hard right now. I guess I'd go with Cub, but it's going to be competitive. It's kind of a pick'em fight.
Yeah, I'm going to go Renato Moicano here, actually. The thing with this fight is that Cub Swanson just not the same fighter he used to be even a couple years ago. I think he's on the way down. Moicano's on the way up. Now, I don't necessarily agree with Moicano being, a 3.5 to 1 underdog or favorite, minus 340 right now on the UFC.com. That's a little insane. I mean, Moicano should be favored. I definitely agree with that. But, I think if you're looking to bet Swanson, there's definitely some value there on him at plus 280. Is he going to get the job done? I don't think so. I think Moicano is just better on the ground. He has a lot more upside. And on the feet, I mean, it's a close fight. Moicano has the reach advantage by a little bit. He might be able to outstrike the striker in Cub Swanson as well. So it's tough to see Swanson winning this fight, but he is a veteran. He's had a lot more experience than Moicano. He's fought the better guys. He's fought Jose Aldo, Edgar, Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, the who's who at 145, even going back a few years. So he could pull it off, but I'm going to go Moicano for the biggest win of his career.
If Moicano can fight that fight the way he did against Jeremy Stephens, a lot of hit. That was the fight, right? He beat Jeremy Stephens, right? Was it like 2 years ago or something like that?
It was a couple of years ago. It was kind of bizarre. If he can
fight that type of fight to where he's picking his shots, hitting and moving, and not trying to stand and trade, which that was what frustrated Jeremy Stephens. And Jeremy Stephens wanted to sit there and stand and trade. And Moicano did a lot of picking his shots, throwing the jab, moving. I think if he does that sort of game plan against Cub, he's gonna win the fight.
Co-main event, the UFC Flyweight Championship is on the line. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson looks to extend his record for the most title defenses by one, yet again taking on the messenger Henry Cejudo in a rematch from their April 2016 fight, which ended via a Johnson first-round TKO. Impressive performance then. Do you think history repeats itself, or do we get the second ever Flyweight champion tomorrow night?
Nah, history's going to repeat itself. It might not be that quick of a finish. I think Cejudo is gonna take his time a bit, but I don't see anybody at 125 being able to compete with Demetrius Johnson, at least in the UFC. The only guy I think who can compete with Johnson is unfortunately fighting for Ryzen, Horiguchi. That's the only guy I think that could really give Johnson, a good test. But I see it ending the same. Maybe it goes to a decision, who knows? But I don't see Cejudo doing anything that's going to surprise Johnson or anything that's superior to what Johnson brings.
I gotta agree. I mean, I've been a big Demetrius Johnson guy ever since I knew who he was, ever since he started fighting, and well, I guess ever since I started watching fighting. He's been fighting a lot longer than I've been a fan, but I mean, DJ, one of the best fighters there ever has been. I think he'll go down as one of the best, if not the best. And Henry Cejudo, I mean, he should be able to put up a bit of a fight to DJ. I think it'll be more competitive than the first fight. I don't think DJ will just land a couple body kicks, a few clinch shots, and it'll be over. But I do think DJ will get it done. I'm gonna go decision, a late finish, early finish. Nothing would surprise me from DJ. He's just a master at what he does, and so he can really win however he wants, but Cejudo should be able to put up a bit of a fight. This guy's gotten better. His striking's looked really good. I think he's a lot more powerful than he was early on in his UFC career, and of course his wrestling obviously as good as always will be good, always has been good. He does have that gold medal from the Olympics. Don't forget. Could be competitive, but ultimately I got to go DJ to retain the title. I'll say a decision, but as I said, nothing would shock me from Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
A lot more competitive main event, TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt for the UFC Bantamweight title. Who are you picking here? Cody Garbrandt looking to get the title back. He sat out for a little while when he won it in 2016 against Dominic Cruz, defended it for the first time, lost in the second round to his former teammate. Does, again, like the co-main event, does history repeat itself? Does TJ get it done, defending it yet again, or does Garbrandt become a two-time champ?
I think Garbrandt takes it back. I think he's better on the feet. I think a lot of things have changed. One of them, he's talking about being healthy, and I think he overlooked Dillashaw in that fight, and I don't think that's going to happen again. Dillashaw has the head kicks and stuff that is something that Garbrandt really hasn't really added into his repertoire. But if they're going to stand on the feet and trade, I just think Garbrandt's the better striker. He has good wrestling defense. He can stuff takedowns. I'd like to see him mix in some wrestling this fight, but I think he retains this title. But it's not something I'm super confident on to where I'm going to like put money on it. I think Dillashaw could catch him with another head kick, or his mix of strikes is really well. But I think Garbrandt takes the title back.
It's going to be an interesting fight. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go TJ Dillashaw to retain the bantamweight title. The way I look at this, and I really didn't learn much from that first fight. Yeah. We learned that Cody Garbrandt hits hard. We learned that TJ Dillashaw hits, as hard, maybe even harder, and that the first guy to land the best shot will probably win. And it might play out like that again in the rematch. I really wouldn't surprise me. And so the way I look at this is that Dillashaw just has more tools. Now, Garbrandt might be the actual better boxer. He might be the better striker, but Dillashaw just has a few more tools in the tool bag on the feet. Yeah. He has his kicks. He has different shots on the feet, different punches. Garbrandt's just a straight boxer for the most part. And so I think Dillashaw will be able to get it done on the feet. Now, does he knock him out in the second round again? Is it early or earlier? Is it later on? It's tough to say. I'm not going to go out and say Dillashaw will knock him out in the third. I think this could go to the judges. Now, of course, on the other hand, Garbrandt, he keeps on saying he went from the couch to the cage in that first fight. He wasn't himself. We'll see a different Cody Garbrandt. That could be the case. You never know. It's hard to trust what fighters say before their fights.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, Garbrandt might come out and look totally different, look much better, and stun TJ Dillashaw and get that title back. But otherwise, I think Dillashaw will keep it. Super close fight. I hope it goes a little longer because it was looking really good, really fun in that first fight until Dillashaw got it done early in that second. So if it does go a bit longer, I think this will be one to remember. It'll be a fun one. But I got to go with the champ, TJ Dillashaw. Just a few more ways to win. And I'm not sure exactly how he gets it done, but I do think he will to retain the title against Cody No Love Garbrandt. That is UFC 226. It, of course, goes down tomorrow night in Los Angeles, California. I'm looking forward to it. A lot of people don't like the card. I'm sure pay-per-view buys won't be so great for this one. But I think the two title fights, I've always been, a DJ guy, even though a lot of people just don't care for him and his fights. And Dillashaw Garbrandt, how can you complain about that? Even though I do think this is happening a little sooner. I think this should have happened. I think Dillashaw should have defended against someone like a Marlon Rice or a Rafael Assunção. Give Cody Garbrandt maybe a Cruz rematch. Maybe give him Jimmy Rivera. Maybe, anyone. So I don't really understand why they're running this back so soon. Maybe it's because the UFC wants Garbrandt as a champion because he's more marketable than TJ. It's tough to say, but I am looking forward to it. As far as the stylistic fight, as far as everything on paper, it should be fun, and I can't wait. Okay, anything else you want to mention from when UFC Calgary, the Conor Khabib announcement, Diaz Poirier, any other news we missed, or of course this card, or are we good to wrap this up?
I think just some of the recent fight announcements kind of are kind of head scratchers. I think the one that kind of sticks out to me is the Woodley Till fight. Giving a guy who's coming off of missing weight and a guy who's missed weight several times and having like strip. I think just Woodley Covington is something that they were just so desperate to fill another title for that pay-per-view, to sell a pay-per-view, that I think stripping Covington and not having that be the next fight just because he's going to not be able to return until probably October or November. I don't like that fight as much just because of, I wanted to see Woodley Covington. That's the fight I wanted to see. I think them stripping Covington of an interim title like a month or so, whatever, after he just won it was kind of weird. And then giving it to somebody who just missed weight was just an odd kind of out of nowhere fight announcement.
Yeah, I agree. I guess we can talk about that real briefly. I feel for Colby Covington. I'm not going to lie. Even though, that title, or that interim title was kind of BS, that RDA fight never should have been for the interim title. Tyron Woodley defended it very much. Stephen Thompson twice, and then Damian Maia, he was out for just not even a year. I mean, a year now, but by then it had been just 11 months or so. 10 months actually, because that was early June. But yeah, really ridiculous. And then taking away the interim title, I feel like the UFC is trying to fix their mistakes, but really they just got to accept it and not give out interim titles whenever they want, if that's what they're trying to fix or do. And so taking it away, it's not really fair, because I mean, if you're gonna give him the title, don't take it away when he still deserves to have it. And so,
but I guess I kind of see how it makes sense, because if you have Montano Shevchenko headlining a pay-per-view, that's not going to sell at all.
No.
And I'm not trying to be entirely disrespectful to Montano, but the fact that she won the title on basically it was an FS1 card. It wasn't a pay-per-view. Not a lot of people watched it. There's so many people. My parents are huge UFC fans. They don't know every single fighter, but if I asked them who the UFC flyweight champ is, they would have no idea. They like Shevchenko. They love watching her. They'd probably name her as a flyweight. But if I said, hey, have you seen Nico Montano fight? Do you know who she is? They would look at me and say, I have no clue.
Yeah. No, the thing is, I mean, the whole reason as to why this happened was they needed a headliner for that Dallas card just next month. Montano Shevchenko wasn't going to be it, as you said. They needed something else. And so they're sort of just, doing what they have to do to get that main event, to get these fights on pay-per-view. And so I get it. I understand, but it's still not fair. You got to still keep – now, I mean, this sport is crazy. This world is crazy. Nothing is fair in life, but, in MMA, I'd like to keep it as fair as possible, and clearly the UFC doesn't really care about that. I get it. It's a business. They need to have these fights that sell, and they need to book fights. And so if Covington's not ready to go and they need a fight for next month, well, Covington's probably not going to get that title shot, and that just proved that's the case. And I think this also proved that interim titles, obviously are meaningless for the most part.
Oh yeah,
We've known that for so long, but the more the UFC does weird things with them, take them away, give them, take them away, whatever, not really make them even a number one contender fight. I mean, when you win an interim title, the whole idea is you get that title shot. That's your next fight.
Yep.
You'll be fighting the champion next. And, well, that wasn't the case. And so, the whole situation's bizarre. But although the one positive out of this is that I actually like Woodley Till as a fight more than Woodley Covington.
As a fight, yeah. I think it's more entertaining fight. I just kind of like the animosity and the feud that you have with Woodley and Covington. But as a fight, yeah, Woodley until is a good fight. Hopefully it's a finish. You never know. In fights, you want to say it's a finish. Both of them hit hard, but we could get Woodley Wonder Boy 2 to where Woodley's kind of back against the fence, Till's kind of hesitant. Who knows what kind of fight we get between them.
All right, episode 173 of the MMA Circus is in the book. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Justyn, for stepping up and doing this as our guest co-host. It was great talking to you again, and I appreciate you doing this. For anybody watching on YouTube, please give us a big thumbs up down there. And if you haven't already, go give this YouTube channel, the MMA Circus, a subscribe on YouTube. The button's somewhere down there. If you have any feedback for the show, good or bad, anything does go, drop a message in the comment section down below. and I will reply to you if needed. You can find the MMA Circus on BloodyElbow.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Google Play, SoundCloud, Player FM, TuneIn, Overcast, Podcast Addict, and pretty much anywhere else you can find a podcast. So go rate us, review us, subscribe. Again, any feedback, just drop a message down below. Tweet me at Nick Baldwin MMA, anything. Rate us on iTunes or anything like that. That's all very appreciated. Justyn, plug away. Let our audience know where they can find you on social media, where they can get a hold of you, maybe other places, and of course find all your work.
It's pretty simple. My Twitter, Justyn Likes, JustynLikes. I said I was taking a little hiatus to kind of focus on teaching, but I still find myself with free time. So probably next week I'm going to get back into, I have hopefully a few interviews that'll be lined up. I know I'll be talking to the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, the founder of that. I know they got their second show. I should be talking to him sometime next week. But check out the site, combatpress.com. My boxing rankings just went up today. We always have pretty good content on Combat Press. So,
alrighty, you guys can find me on Twitter at Nick Baldwin MMA. You can find all my writing over at BloodyElbow.com. You can, of course, if you missed any of it, if you haven't seen it, and you still want to check it out, all my coverage for UFC Calgary, I was there on the Severe MMA YouTube channel, youtube.com/Severe Art Interviews. Out the yin yang, I would appreciate if you do check some of it out. I know there's a lot, so maybe not everything, but maybe give a few a listen. I'd appreciate that greatly. I think that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching. We really appreciate you guys. For Justyn Likes, I am Nick Baldwin, and we are out.